Hey guys, welcome to a new video. Once this video is released, the new W0.12 version should just have been released. And I thought, hey, let's make a video for everyone running a QuinLED board, or any board really, how to update your firmware to the new WLED version, and then how to set up the LED pins you can now configure from the GUI. So before, or actually currently, because I'm pre-filming this, if we go to the WLED, WLED.me page, and then we go to the releases, as you can see, we're currently on 0.11.1. There are lots of binaries. There's ESP32 or ESP32 LED pin 16, which you needed for the QuinLED boards if you had an ESP32 in there. And then there's several for the ESP8266. Lots of different binaries you needed to choose from. Now, starting with WLED 0.12, that's all gone. This is now configured from the GUI. So even if you have, and I made a little test setup here, a QuinLED-Dig-Quad with 4 data channels, and here we have some SK6812 RGBW, some WS2812B, and I think these are all WS2812B, but in different forms and setups, connected to the 4 data output channels. Now you can configure those pins yourself, so you can just get the normal binary and then do that work. Now I've started writing a little article about that, so that for people who'd rather read this than watch this video, you can go to quinled.info, go to the digitally addressable LED section, scroll down, and there is a WLED 0.12 what do I configure for QuinLED article. And here I made a nice little logo. There is an article index. Now I suggest if you've read most of the article once, you can probably use the index. But basically this has all the steps we're going to take to update our modules. In this video we'll do a USB update and then configure everything from scratch. But if you're running an older version, you can do an OTA update, so an over-the-air update. Now this article has become quite long because of that. Because first I tell you how to identify from a running WLED instance how, if you have an ESP8266 or an ESP32, and I have a list of the pre-assembled controllers I've sold which had an ESP8266 or an ESP32. Then I go to how to flash it. We'll do that in real time. If you want to know all of these steps to set up WLED, maybe watch this older video where I go through all the steps like linking the app and going through the Wi-Fi and stuff like that. We'll skip that for this video because that's not that interesting. We just want to configure those pins. Here I have some screenshots how you can do the OTA method, and then we get to configuring LED pins. What pins do you need for which board? And then some configuration examples. Well, lots of stuff in this article. We might reference it once or twice during this video. But this is basically, well, a real-time walkthrough with us together installing WLED 0.12. I need to hold it over here. On the current Dig-Quad. I am working on newer versions of the pre-assembled, and the DIY versions will get an update after that. That has some pin changes because I want to also support Ethernet. That is also, development of that is also going great, and we're currently in the last phase of development before we do a trial batch. But there will be a dedicated QuinLED video to highlight what's changing and what's coming. So for now, we're going to step 1, flash this. So normally I'd say go to WLED.me and then go to the releases page. You can find that on the right over here. And well, there would be 0.12. Of course, this, I'm recording this before it's released. So that isn't there. So assuming you downloaded that, let's go to our flashing program called ESP Home Flasher. You can find links and stuff like that in the guide, and the guide will of course be linked in the description. So I'm just going to connect my ESP32 to my serial port. Let's refresh this, COM8. I have to browse for the firmware file. And in the future, for QuinLEDs, if you have an 8266, you select the 8266. And if you have an ESP32, you select the ESP32. And, well, Ethernet is going to be a different thing, but again, more about that in future videos. Okay, let's take the ESP32. This is still the beta version, but hey, it's pretty close. Let's wait for it to flash a little bit. Almost done. Okay, now flashing using the ESP Home Flasher currently gives you this failed to initialize little fs error. That is a slight problem, but not for what we're going to do in this video today. They're working on a solution to that, either a WLED flashing tool or something like that, or you can flash using command line using ESP tool. Let me know in the comments if you'd like a dedicated video on how to do that, how to install that and configure it, basically. Anyway, if you see this ADA, it's done flashing and it's booted into WLED. So I'm going to close off this program and I'm going to go to this view where I have my testing set up. And I'm quickly offline going to set up the Wi-Fi and get the IP address so we can continue from there. Okay, so flashing is done and I have placed the ESP32 back on the QuinLED-Dig-Quad board. I have everything already wired up, so let's turn on the power. Okay, that's fine. At least the LED on the D1 Mini is turned on. And as I said, I already looked up the IP address. That should be this one. Yep. Let's check in the info screen. And it says we're running version 0.12 beta 1. You know. Okay, but now, well, if we try and change stuff... Oh, wait. Maybe I should switch to this one. There we go. That should show you better. So, the changing colors does nothing because we still need to configure it. Now, let's put it back to the default orange. Go to Config, LED Preferences. And in my case, I have 288 SK6812 RGB WLEDs connected to LED 1 as it's called on the board. Now if we look at the article index and then go to what pins do you need for your board, it says here that a QuinLED-Dig-Quad version 1 with an ESP32 LED 1 is pin 16. Okay, let's go to the settings. We say we have RGBW. That is on pin 16. And as I said, we have 288. Let's change the total to 288. And well, I sneaked around before. I turned the brightness limiter off because I don't want to bother with setting it right now. The board can handle up to 30 amps continuous and much more in peaks. And there's a 40 amp power supply connected. I don't think that's going to be a problem. Okay, let's hit save. And there we go. WLED orange. And if we go back and let's see if we can change colors. Yeah, that looks good. Let's do some effects. Let's do some color waves. Yep, okay. That's all good. So that works. Now let's continue setting up the other channels, and I'll get you the screen again. Actually, I can make this bigger. Sorry, I didn't do that before. So we now have a single output channel. Now let's see. For LED 2, it says it can be either pin 3 or 1, depends on the ESP32 board. Now it depends who manufactured the ESP32 board, if it's pin 1 or 3. So let's see, I believe these are connected to those. So you hit the plus icon here. It's WS281X. And let's try pin 3. And let's say we have 60. I don't know how many are connected. And this is important. Start is 288. So that means 0 to 288 are connected to LED channel 1. And 288 plus 60 are connected to LED channel 2. Now, there's a little bit of math involved here because we need to do 288 plus 60 is 348, which will be our total. 348. Save. I think we've activated this one. So, okay, let's make that more LEDs because there's a lot more in there. Let's make that 150. So now we need to do 288 plus 150. And I'm great at math, not. So that's 438. 438. Let's see if that activates all of them. Not all of them. Well, I think that has most of them. Let's configure the next output. If we check in the document, I know it's a bit tiny up there, but you should be able to see it. It's now either pin 1 or 3. So since we just configured pin 3, let's hit the plus icon again and say it's pin 1, and that has, I don't know, 300 connected, and it starts at 588, which is where we left off. So 588 plus 300 is, well, 888. Save. Okay, this was definitely not 300. Let's change that to 100. I'm not sure how many there actually are. Well, that's working. And let's configure the last channel. And normally I'd figure out how many LEDs were actually on a single channel, but I don't really want to bother right now. LED 4 is pin 26. So let's just type this here, 26. Now I know this is 150. So we have to do 688 plus 150, 838. Okay, 838. And that should make everything here on the table basically glow. And we can see, lower the intensity, raise the intensity a little bit. Okay, that seems to be working just fine. Now, that is basically all there is to configure. They added some other stuff. If you go to LED preferences and scroll down a little bit more, you can see they now added also that you can set the relay pin, the button pin, the IR pin, and the aux pin. Now, I didn't add these to my article. Basically, per LED board I have available, so Dig-Uno, Dig-Quad for the digital LEDs, or now also supported the QuinLED-Quad or the QuinLED-Dig for analog LED strips. If you go to the corresponding pinout page, there you will see I have the Q pins labeled on the board, which I/O pin those are connected to. And for instance, there is a GPO0, but that's basically used for the button in WLED that is connected to IO17. So if you connected up the button pin and then here set the button pin to 17, that would activate it and make it work. Okay, so I only listed the LED pins in the article, but there's a pinout article for each of the boards that I make or have available, and well, you can find all the details there. Right, so going back to WLED, after we've configured the pins, you might want to change the segments, because as you can see now, if I change the effect to, for instance, BPM, all of it changes at the same time. Or if we do, well, we had color wave, dancing shadows, okay, or Fireworks 1D, that's a nice example. So you see all of the effect. I'm not sure why there is some extra LEDs on here. I'm not going to bother with that right now. All the effects go to all the channels at the same time, or it's basically internally seen as one giant LED strip. But you might, in certain situations, want to use certain outputs for different purposes. The way to do that is to go to the segments, and right now we have a single segment of all of our LEDs. Basically what we say is, okay, no, this one is 288 LEDs. That was our LED 1 port with the SK6812. You can see it immediately changed to now doing that effect. And then, and I actually have to see what we set. Oh yeah, we set that the other port had 300 LEDs. So we go to segments, add segment. It starts at 288, and if it's 300, that is 588. Okay, and now we can select segment 1, and once we have selected segment 1, we can change the effect and stuff like that that's being displayed on there. Let's make it something a little bit more visible, noise 3, because these don't really show up that well on camera right now. But as you can see, it's now doing a different effect. I need to glance again. Okay, then we said 100, and then we said 150. So let's go back to segments. Here we said, okay, this one ends at 588, so then we said 100, so that's 688. And then we had 688 plus 150, and math is not my thing. That is 83. Oh, that's correct. Okay, never mind. Okay, so now we have each output mapped to a single segment. So if we now go to segment 2, which is 588 to 688, but remember internally it sees it as one giant LED strip, we can put another effect on there. That's this top one here. And then if we deselect that one again and go to segment 3, and let's scroll down a little bit. Let's see what kind of effects we have. Yeah, we can do a neon rainbow. That's not really nice. Not a really nice effect. I can play hours with these effects. Anyway, here's the effect. So now, as you can see, it's doing a different effect on all of the different LED strips. Okay, I had to intervene here a little bit. This is still a beta version. For some reason, if I select segment 0, it doesn't want to do fireworks starburst, which we set it to, but for instance, flow works perfectly. So it's still a little bit of work to do there, but as you can see, each of the separate outputs is now doing its own effect, and you can set its own palette and colors and stuff like that. And well, we divided the segments into 4 segments since we have 4 data outputs, but you could easily still divide a single data output to 2 segments or more, or however you wanted to configure it. Now, that is basically what I wanted to show you. Again, there is a written article which has a lot of this information in there with screenshots and easy to follow text. Maybe you like text more than videos, or you need to look up the pins and stuff like that. That is all in there. Now, if you have any more questions, please comment on the video. But if it's a lengthy question, either join the WLED Discord or the Intermittent Technology Discord, where we discuss a lot of things LEDs and, well, my boards and stuff like that. And that's basically what I wanted to show you guys. WLED 0.12, by the time you see this video, is out, and the multi-channel and in-GUI configuration they've built in is excellent. You just need to know which pin numbers to choose, and well, my articles help with that. I hope you found this video useful. thumbs up is always appreciated. Subscribe for more LED stuff always coming out, testing stuff, the new boards, you name it. And I'll catch you guys in the next video. Bye-bye.